We are starting a bit later, so we'll have only 1 hour, but I think it's going to be great. This is what it's called. This session is called, in footballistic terms, a classic type of session where we are going to discuss certainly about the relationship between sustainability and SMEs. I'll give the floor to Gerardo, and certainly he will be able to introduce the different speakers and provide us with their vision regarding sustainability and SMEs. I think this has been a classic session, because indeed this is the one of the major and important topics regarding SMEs, how to uptake, how to boost the sustainability of SMEs when they produce new products, new sustainable products, but also when they also manage the processes. I think the main drivers are pushing and will push SMEs towards sustainability are, I would say, three. First of all, energy and raw material costs. Second, the climate change impacts. And unfortunately, we've seen that in some countries, lately in Spain with the floods. And certainly the legislative push on non-financial and financial companies to green their value chains. Recently, the Commission, and I invite you to have a look, launched and also published a recent Eurobarometer on the uptake of sustainability and how sustainability is being pushed by SMEs and taken up by SMEs. Things are improving. SMEs are becoming more sustainable, but the progress is not perhaps as fast as we thought and we wanted. So I think this session for us, for the Commission, is an excellent opportunity to hear from the horse's mouth, if I may use that expression, what is the reality, what are the challenges, and possible solutions. The Commission is working very hard to ensure that SMEs provide information on where they are regarding sustainability, but to provide information in a simple manner. So we've been working very much in the taxonomy and the corporate sustainability reporting directive to ensure that the reporting about sustainability is as simple as possible. So these are the challenges we've seen in this provocative session this morning. That one possible issue is to put more money in the economy, and certainly we've seen also other alternatives, which is certainly that we need this protection, but how do we do that in practice? So this is essentially the question that, coming from the European Commission, will certainly ask you. I will let you, Gerardo, I think it's not too much time to focus on this, but certainly very much pleasure from the European Commission to have you here, and thank you very much for having taken the challenge to be here with us. Thank you.
Okay. So thank you, Bonifacio. Yes, this is, as we said, this is a panel that has been going on for a while in this SME Assembly, and this goes back to the 2020, so it's back on the 2020, it's this one, and it's, we were online, it was exactly the pandemic in that moment, and we were of course talking about the effect of pandemic in this sense, and then we went in Slovenia, and in Slovenia, the topic of this panel was towards greener economy, with several conversations around that. In 2002, we were in Czechia, in Czech Republic, and it was poly-crisis, and the SMEs relief package was mostly the topic of this session. And last year, we were in Spain, and the topic was green and digital transition. Okay, so, and in this session, we will basically deal this year about the relationship between competitiveness and sustainability. How this thing is evolving? What's happening? on this field. And as you know, these are two pillars of the policy for the SMEs in Europe, so that's really important. And we have a wonderful panel of experts here. So as you see, we have first of all the Professor Ute Stefan here. She's an entrepreneurial professor at King's Business School at King's College London. And then we have Balázs Szepesi, head of the School of Economics at Matthias Corvinus Collegium, and he's also Deputy State Secretary for Economic Development in the Hungarian Republic. I was. You was, sorry, okay. But you have been, okay. Julia Fauré, you have already met her at the beginning, so she's co-president of Impact France. And then we have Marianna Panebarco, and she's the CEO of, she's an entrepreneur as well, and so she's the CEO of her company, but she has also important roles in the Italian Federation of Small and Medium Enterprise and also at the European level. And we have Maria Lipatova. She's an entrepreneur as well. She's the founder of Solar Optic, and she's also was a winner of the youth startup competition last year. And yeah, after this brief introduction, if there is anything important for this topic that you would like to add from your profile, please do that, okay? Feel free to do that. And yeah, and then we have, there is a colleague of mine here. She's Miriam Artola Dendaluce, and she will be harvesting and sketchnoting about the session and what comes out. And so it's time to start, I think, and so I will give the button to, first of all, and pass, yeah, to, if I can manage with this. Can you?
I don't have slides. So
yes, okay, thank you. So we have, for our panelists, a first question, and the first question is, how has the relationship between sustainability and competitiveness evolved in recent years for European SMEs? And please, over to you, Ute.
Thank you, Gerardo, and thank you, Bonifacio. And I'm really pleased to be on this particular panel with so many exciting panelists. So I'm an academic, so I'm going to give you a bit of an overview of what we know from research, robust research, and basically the answer to whether sustainability and competitiveness go hand in hand is, broadly speaking, yes, they do, which is good news. And it's for three reasons, because companies that engage in sustainability can develop new competences and innovate. They are much better at attracting, engaging, and retaining their employees. And they also have benefits in terms of reputation with their stakeholders. So these are broadly the three mechanisms. And this holds for different types of sustainability, so both the environmental sustainability, but also more social aspects of sustainability. However, there's always a but. And the but is that it, especially when it comes to smaller SMEs, really depends why they engage in sustainability, and this why then translates to whether or not that makes them more competitive. And so SMEs have really an advantage when it comes to working with stakeholders. They're very close to their local stakeholders, typically, including their customers. And so any sustainability initiatives that they introduce driven by customer demand, they really pay off in terms of higher firm performance and innovation performance. It looks very different if you push SMEs to adopt sustainability initiatives for regulatory purposes. There is much less of a direct positive effect. And what's more, it's actually what we see in practice, the most entrepreneurial SMEs that are often also engaged the most in sustainability. And you get real synergies when you're serious about both goals, so to speak. So when you're very strong, you have a very strong entrepreneurial emphasis, so very clear economic goals, and you combine them with very clear sustainability goals, what you then get is that firms have an benefit in terms of so-called open innovation strategies, meaning they're much better to draw on external knowledge. And why does that matter? Because they then introduce innovations in the market that actually customers want, and so thereby, they're generating greater profits. So there are synergies. They are really related to how SMEs relate to their customers and their local stakeholders. And so in turn, you can say sustainability really pays off for SMEs when it's well aligned with their business model. And how we can incentivize that, I think, is for the next round of questions.
Yeah. Thank you. So over to you, Balázs, and that's the remote control. So yeah, you can.
Thank you very much. So I have 4 points. I think I will not have time to elaborate all. First, it's very important to say that sustainability is more than climate policy. Let me to tell you an example. In my countryside, where I am from, there are entrepreneurs who help German pensioners to buy houses in small villages. And it's something very good because these empty houses will have inhabitants. The people there will have a job. They don't have to commute 1.5 hours there and home because they can do something at home. And what is the extra point in the story? That these empty houses were built by German Schwabish peasants who were forced to leave Hungary after the Second World War. So we return to an old culture. And I think it's social sustainability, it's cultural sustainability that happens. What we can observe from the narrow sustainability perspective, only the heat pump and the solar panel in this story. And I think that I really felt one time, I wanted to, when I worked for the government, I wanted to initiate a program that helps entrepreneurs who are very important to sustain local cultures, but we couldn't do it because that was problems. This is the first issue about sustainability. The second, we heard about it, to take ecosystem allegory seriously. In ecosystems, the resilience depends not on the lions and on the bears, but on the small mosquitoes. If there are no mosquitoes, there won't be frogs. If there are no frogs, then won't be big birds. And resilience of economy, sustainability means on small enterprises. It's very important when Wilhelm Röpke defined the social market economy. He was sitting in Switzerland and thinking about the future after the Second World War. He defined small entrepreneurs as very important because they stabilize society, not only economy. That's another aspect. And thirdly, I think that most SMEs, I fully agree that a regulation or market defines sustainability, but there is a third important channel, the value chains. Most of the SMEs fit to sustainability standards through the demands of the integrator, the bank, the big company, the platform, and so on. And this is the question that who pays the bill. If there is a sustainability issue, the supply chain will force the small businesses to meet the standards, and they have to somehow to afford it, or somehow the costs are shared in the chain. I think it's very important. And thirdly, I think that sustainability is a qualitative aspect. To buy a T-shirt that was made in a fair way, it's another T-shirt to buy it to made in a cheap way. But it's a question that who can afford this price? And just my last idea. There is a housing crisis for youngsters all around Europe, and it would be very interesting to investigate it, how the housing standards and how the urban regulation standards cause this crisis. Now, if I am a youngster and I buy or hire a flat, I have a more sustainable flat in a more sustainable surrounding, but I pay the blah blah blah price. So sometimes we have to consider if we want to have something very qualitative thing to buy, like this fair T-shirt or this sustainable house, but it can cause another sustainability problems that our young guys cannot afford a flat and they have to move away.
Okay.
So there are trade-offs.
Julia.
Super interesting. I think that's the question we always ask ourselves. No? Can you be competitive and sustainable? And in our world, in our economical world or impact startup, we all want to say yes, doing good is good for business. And we want to believe in that because there are companies that are doing good ethically and economically. But these companies are on a niche. I'm a company that is ethical and competitive. I make good quality clothing made in Europe with organic cotton. But I'm so small. I'm on a niche. Like 70% of the clothes that are sold in France are made in disgusting condition. So, yes, SMEs can be sustainable and competitive, but they will stay on the niche. And this is not what we want. We don't want to have a small amount of companies that are sustainable. We want to change, to transform the whole economy. I don't care if there's 2 or 3 clothing brands that are great. I want all the clothes that are made, that are consumed, and that are sold in France and in Europe to be made in good working condition, to be made with ecological treatment and so on. And so this is what we must tackle. We cannot be okay with having some companies that are ethical and that are working well. Because for one that work well, you will have 10 that close. And this is what's happening right now in France. Huh? Fashion company, ethical, fashion factories are closing. And the company today in fashion that are very competitive are Shein and Temu. I don't know if you know these ultra-fast fashion brands, but these are the ones winning the market. So I think if there's one thing I want people to understand today is most of the time, doing good is bad for business. And I think we have to accept this reality to change the rule so it's not true anymore. So if we want that doing good is good for business, but it must be forbidden to make people work under a certain wage. It must be forbidden to import clothes that are made under a certain unfair condition. So this is, I think, doing good is bad for business, the benefit of wrongdoing. This is what we call it in France.
Thank you. Thank you, Julia.
Thank you.
Marianna.
So, good morning, all of you, and thanks for this great opportunity. I'd like to clarify a few definitions. I mean, I think it's important to clarify the definition of SMEs, because this word is used to define companies with up to 250 employees, but if, for example, in Italy, 94% of companies have less than 10 employees. So I think we should start to speak about micro and SMEs. And when we speak about micro and SMEs, especially in crafts, because I represent an association with a lot of crafts, very strongly in the craft sector, well, I think that we are talking about companies that are green by definition. They have always been practicing circularity, reuse, recycle, long before these words entered the vocabulary of politicians. This is not, this is true. If you enter one of these places, you can touch with your hands that this is a practice. And another thing, entrepreneur for us is not only an innovative person starting a new business, but also a person taking over a traditional and a mature business in a traditional sector. So these are key elements to go on with the discussion for me. And we know that sustainability innovators and early adopters show that having these values at the core business can be a competitive advantage. And we know that according to a recent Flash Eurobarometer, 93% of SMEs in Europe are taking at least one resource efficiency action. So we are moving on. We want to be sustainable, but we encounter several obstacles, and we know, all of us know them. Administrative legal procedures are very complex for us. environmental reporting requirements are complex, and we have significant financial and technical barriers. So, to answer your question, can we be competitive and green at the same time? I think that it's possible, but what shall we do? It's very important for us to include SMEs and micro enterprises in the decisional processes. I mean, we have to sit at the same table of big companies. We have to discuss about Green Deal. We have to be in the industrial plan, because sometimes we are not even mentioned. And this is a key. I don't think that it's only a key for the companies we represent, small companies, but also for the society, because I think that SMEs and micro companies with their richness, diversity, and very strong identity can be a way of building this European growth model we talked about yesterday.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mariana. And then Maria, over to you.
Thank you for this opportunity to speak today. So the question, if SME can be sustainable and competitive at the same time, is very philosophical. And I think it depends on many factors, like what is the occupation of the business, what is the region of the operation. So in this panel, I will speak from the name of Ukrainian startup ecosystem and as the Ukrainian company. I would definitely say that sustainability drives the competitiveness. And adoption like sustainable activities in your SME, for example, like adoption of the energy saving solutions, waste management, can really accelerate the growth of the business, especially in Europe, and to reduce the operational costs. Also, as Uta mentioned in the beginning, that the SMEs has really like the demand from the consumers and from the other businesses if they have the sustainable practices, if they produce the sustainable product which are made in the eco-friendly way. And the new current like demands on the sustainability also opens the possibility for the new startup to be on the market. So I can name few startups in Ukraine who are really target sustainability and energy management. These are the S-Lab, Relief Paper, Solar Plaques, Solar Gaps, and that is what we actually do in solar optic. So we found demand on the market which we can cover and help the business to be sustainable, and that is how many other startups and SMEs can be created. And I think, like, to summarize my small speech, we should think that sustainability is the opportunity as the investments rather than the spending and cost burden.
Thank you, Maria. Let's enter into the second part of this panel and the second question. And the second question is more about what priorities should the new Commission set to help the SMEs thrive competitively and sustainably. And as you know, this is a participatory session. So what we will do, I will just invite our panelists to give their recommendation for this in this moment. They've already started a little bit, but can stress this, and then we will give you some time just to also give you your recommendation to the Commission. We will harvest them a little bit, and then we will go to the closure of the session. So let's go again in the same round. So Ute, please, your recommendations.
Thank you. So there would obviously be tons to say, and I've picked 3 very specific things I try. So building on my earlier point that one of the strengths of SMEs, and Mariana is right, it's mostly small companies or micro companies, right? That they do have a strength when it comes to direct stakeholder relationships. They're close to their customers, but then, of course, they're also typically financially and resource constrained. So obviously finance is always an easy one to say, but I would make it more specific. So if we know from innovation, we've There's loads of instruments like R&D tax credits, innovation vouchers, which have been evaluated, which work quite well. Why don't we reuse those to make it sustainability innovation vouchers, sustainability tax credits? I also see opportunities for startup and scale-up loan schemes to kind of in-bake, if you want, some sustainability criteria. So that would be kind of easy, ready-to-use financial tools. And then going back to the point of ultimately you need to have a customer who's willing to pay, what Julia very clearly said. So could we also think about, if you want, a demand-side intervention? And I know that may not sit easy with competition policy, so this may be something more for SME support organizations. But why don't we actually talk a bit more with customers and stimulate awareness around sustainability? I'm sure if most people are horrified if they would understand what really goes into a T-shirt or how, you know, certain kind of meat is raised. So, and there are local campaigns around buy local, which tends to be small and medium-sized enterprises, buy sustainably, buy social. These work surprisingly well and raise awareness to a high level because most people are not aware because we just buy products. We don't like to think what's behind those products. So financial demand side. And then the third point, I think it's also really valuable to highlight best practices. So that on the one side, SMEs see how others like them, so their peers can actually have implemented sustainability in their business model successfully. And I say this because very much, I think, like Mariana already said, and also Maria illustrated, there is a lot of really good examples out there. They tend to be small and local enterprises, so they tend to be easily overlooked. So if we can think of awards ceremonies, media campaigns, I know these are not kind of brand new tools, but they're tools that work, and so we can use them to that end. And we could then even go maybe one step further. Support organizations could organize master classes to transfer local knowledge, right? So these could be locally based campaigns that would sit very well. And I'll stop here and see what the others say.
Balázs.
Thank you. I have a slide.
Yeah.
So I wrote down what are my recommendations. I would like to sum it up in 3 words: culture, trust, and values. What I think on culture, I think that the greatest value of Europe is cultural, historical diversity. And that made me very surprised when I read the Draghi report. It was mainly mentioned just a little, but not something to build on. And when now there are a lot of provocative ideas here at this assembly, that's really good. It means that we have to find out how to continue it, because how we did it before, it doesn't work. That's why we did it now. And let's go back to the basics. What are our core values? What are our core competencies? And to build on them. And it's very important. And we don't. That was the message of the lecture yesterday evening. I think it's very important to go down. What are those cultural advantages? Now we sell it. When tourism becomes more and more important in Europe, it means that we sell local culture and local historical issues. Maybe there are other utilizations of this aspect. I think it's very important that build mono and culture. Trust. One of my favorite books is Wilson's book on American bureaucracy, and it has a chapter that compares American bureaucracy and Swedish bureaucracy. How they control business. And in Sweden, everything is simple, and in the States, everything is over-bureaucratized and over-controlled. And what is the difference? How the Swedish government trusts on business, how the administrator is trusted by the government, and so on. So it makes everything cheap. In European Union, the level of trust in policy making and policy implementation extremely low. I was responsible for the Cohesion Fund sponsored economic development program in Hungary, and a lot of times good ideas couldn't be realized because kind of audit won't let it happen. procurement and so on. So I think it must be changed, and certainly values. I think that the debate started here, and at other places also. It's very important. What are those values that we would like to sustain? The mosquitoes, the frogs, or the birds, or the rivers, or the youngsters who maybe leave Europe. And I think that these debates are not done. When we speak about sustainability, we have to ask, okay, but sustainability of what? And I think that in this phase, the Italian peninsula sustained, but the Roman Empire didn't sustain, because we now, the Europeans, destroyed it. So that's what we have to think about also.
Thank you. Julia.
So I will make a technical answer, because I think if there's someone for the European Commission listening to me, this is the opportunity. So what we can do to foster SMEs transition and competitiveness. My first recommendation is tackling the fast fashion industry, the low-cost clothing industry, through the Waste Framework Directive revision, which is currently being discussed in trilogues meetings. So harmful commercial strategy must be penalized within the extended producer responsibility framework. And EPR is also a powerful tool to help SMEs to achieve their sustainable transition. I understand that most people of the room don't understand what I've said, but believe me, Waste Framework Directive revision is a great frame to tackle fast fashion industry. My second recommendation is regarding what I said in my introductory speech. We must not let enter the European market products that have been made in bad condition. A decade after the Rana Plaza tragedy, many companies in various sectors are still taking advantage of poor regulation to get away with inhuman working conditions and indecent wages on workers in their global supply chain. To remedy this situation, and in parallel with the implementation of CS3D, devoir de vigilance, we propose the introduction of an EU fair border tax. This tax would oblige companies importing product into the EU to pay a tax for any worker in their global supply chain who receives a wage below the fair wage line. This would be good for the countries that are producing, and this would be very good for European SMEs, European industry. And the last thing we recommend, this is not new, you heard about the Buy American Act. Why are we the only one not having a Buy European Act? We should adopt a Buy European Sustainable Act to give priority in public procurement no longer to the economically most advantageous tender, but to the environmentally, socially, and economically most advantageous one, to make environmental, social, and proximity criteria more effective vehicles for economic transition. Because when saying we will buy sustainable, we are favorizing European company. So this is my 3 recommendations.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Arianna.
So first of all, each provision of the Green Deal that impacts the entrepreneurial system must have a sort of proportional measures calibrated according to the need of micro and SMEs. We ask for proportionality, and we ask also for dedicated resources and tools. And we suggest the implementation of a specific multi-annual action plan for crafts and trade small business. A second recommendation tackles the topic of investments. SMEs and micro companies are keen on investing. They do invest a lot, but they need specific tools, and we suggest in this sense a European harmonized framework for SME consortia in order to allow them to plan long-term investments, harmonized and stable fiscal incentives for SMEs' renewable community to do investment in this sector, and also an SME-friendly EU open procurement procedures for transnational cross-border interconnecting infrastructure. And last recommendation, for me personally, it's very important because my region was hit by floods for 3 times in 16 months. And so we demand to set up a sort of European climate resilience platform that brings together a wide variety of stakeholders to better understand and prepare for climate risks. And in particular, for SMEs, we could let's say, settle a specific EU knowledge network and capacity building for them to be prepared, to be prepared in preventing and mitigate the effect and the impact of climate catastrophes and disasters. And just a last call to action, let's say, my call to action is please involve the social partners in the designing regulations, but also in the implementation phase. For us, this is really important, both at EU level and national level. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mariana and Maria.
Thank you. There are some slides that I prepared. Should be right there.
Are you moving the slides, or I can?
Good.
Yes.
Thank you. So in one of the latest reports, I found like the statistics, the top barriers that SME are facing to the sustainable transition. And as we can see, the top three are the lack of institutional support. Then the second place is shared with the lack of clear and simplified frameworks, lack of sustainable finances, and the third place is lack of financial resources. And if we can skip to the next slide, perfect. So also the SME has the requests how they can be supported. Let's have a look at the top of three one. So promotion of sustainable demand. I agree with Julia, as she mentioned, that Commission should promote like the sustainable procurement by adopting sustainable criteria into the purchasing decisions. This also could be made via targeting campaigns to consumers, to businesses, to highlight the value of the sustainable products. Then we have the public initiatives for SMEs. The Commission could implement like the courses, mentorship support, the skill building programs for the SMEs needs in case of sustainable transition. And also it could be made like the platform which connects SMEs with institutional organizations and with the large companies to accelerate the innovation in the sustainability sector. And last but not least, access to sustainable finances. I would say that some of the process are could be quite, have a quite big bureaucracy. So maybe the reducing of the administrative complexity and increase the finances instruments like lower grants for the loans, grants, and more subsidized actions and possibilities for the SMEs.
Yes.
I just wanted to add one small point on the public procurement, which seems to be kind of a really useful lever. So in the UK, we have the so-called Social Value Act, which encourages public procurement. A certain number of points is given to sustainable and social value, which sounds like a fantastic idea to incentivize sustainability. However, what often happens is if public procurement isn't combined with a focus on local businesses, it's much easier for large businesses to come up with the additional work of showing that they have some social or sustainable value in their business. It's much harder for SMEs. So just having public procurement on its own without having it kind of also focused or privileging local SMEs seems to backfire, at least for the SMEs involved. So I think that needs a bit of thought.
Yeah, complexity is always behind the corner. As I said, we have Miriam, my colleague Miriam Artola d'Andaluce. She's harvesting the conversation, and I guess if she can just screenplay for a moment what she has collected so far. If you can, Miriam. Okay. Yeah, take your time, don't worry.
It's clearly not.
Io devo andare.
Okay, we can't see it on these screens, but it's okay. I mean, yes. So a lot of ideas, a lot of things, yes, thank you. And time is running, and as I said, this is a participatory workshop, and the idea of this participatory workshop is that we also would like to hear your recommendation. Just a moment. So the idea is that I give you 10 minutes now, and you can discuss with your colleagues, the other delegates, and maybe you can even take the chance to know other delegates. You're not just with your real colleagues, I mean, but with other delegates, and discuss about what you have heard, the recommendation you have heard, and if you have any other recommendation. And we just ask you the same question we asked to the panelists. So what priorities should the new Commission set to help the SMEs? And you will have 10 minutes to discuss with other delegates, and then right after we will harvest your proposal. Time is running. We will do our best to stay on time and to close at 11 as planned, because we have a coffee right after and then another session, but still let's start doing this now. So talk with your peers, with your other delegates, and make your own recommendation. In other words, we want to learn from you as well, not only from our panelists. 10 minutes from now. So 1 more minute and then we start harvesting. So 1 more minute and then we start with you. So let's listen to your recommendations. I have 2 colleagues of mine here. One is Kasia Balushka, and the other one it's Devin Beecher. And you can just call him, and please be very quick on the top. Yes, we have 2 hands there. So 3 here. Okay. We will get to you later.
Oh, okay. Oh, perfect. Thank you very much. But I will stand up if you don't mind. Thank you very much. My name is Agnès Matisse. I'm the director of Cooperatives Europe, which is the European organization representing cooperative enterprise across Europe. First, I don't know how it is for the rest of the participants in the room, but I didn't find the idea very provocative, even if several times you say that's going to be provocative. I didn't find it provocative. I find it interesting, not surprising, but useful. I would like to, because we have to be very short, to mention one point, which is maybe missing in the discussion, is the long-term vision, or at least to give time to the SMEs who want to involve in sustainability and competitiveness. Because I don't know, it was for Julia when she set up your enterprise or for other project in there. If you're investing in sustainability, you have to persuade the stakeholder, the financing sector, the public authorities sometimes. And it's not easy to be immediately competitive, if you are involving in sustainability. Okay. So we have to give time. And the second point is...
Quickly, please.
Very quickly, very short.
Yeah?
I fully agree that you have to invest in stakeholders, working with consumers and owner of enterprise like it's the case in cooperative. Fine for the timing?
Thank you. Kasia, yeah, and then...
Hi. Hello. Oh, hello. Hi, my name is Ciprian Stănescu.
She was asking for the microphone. She was first before you. Okay. Sorry, ladies first then, and she was really...
Okay, then I'll be extra quick. Burçak İnal from the European Banking Federation. Thank you very much to the whole panel. My question will be especially about sustainable fashion, clients awareness, but maybe others from the other sectors can also pitch in. In yesterday's session with women entrepreneurs, there was one comment we heard from the panel about how there is, on the client side, there's just so much information out there and so much worry about greenwashing that maybe those who have adopted a sustainable fashion business model are at a point where they're not even trying to push their information to the client, but just trying to do the right thing. What do you think about that? Where are the clients in Europe in terms of the demand for sustainable products? Thank you.
Okay, hang the question for a while. Let's see if there are recommendations in this moment for the Commission, and then quickly we do what we can.
I have 2 recommendations.
Yes.
There are also 2 elephants in the room, so I'll address them very shortly. So my name is Ciprian Stănescu. I run an organization in Romania focusing on sustainability education for SMEs, and we work with about 20,000 SMEs in 5 European countries. And the 2 elephants and the 2 recommendations, the first one is related to simplification of CSRD reporting for SMEs. We're all looking at that, hopefully. So the recommendation is for the Commission to really, as much as possible, focus on that, because it's a huge burden. SMEs that we work with are panicked, and this is the word that I will always use. And the second one is about financing gap between or for sustainability measures, which is not just about putting solar panels on roof. It's much more complicated than that, and it also includes social issues and governance issues. So a focus on financing for SMEs for sustainability, not just for green energy.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And then we stop. So very quickly, yes.
Thank you. My name is Arthur ten Wolde from Ecopreneur Europe, the European Sustainable Business Federation, and we represent about 5,000 companies, mostly SMEs in 10 member states. And we have 3 recommendations. The first is, by the way, we support everything that has been said. What has not been said is predictability. So make sure that the EU Green Deal legislation that's now enforced is also implemented and that there is market surveillance. And the second thing is to create a level playing field, but indeed with more than what was mentioned. It also involves the fossil fuel subsidies. In 2022, it was 123 billion subsidies for fossil fuels. So that is something that needs to be stopped. But it also involves a tax shift from labor to resources and pollution. That's also huge. So in addition to green public procurement. And the third thing, and that is connected to the panic, is that the SMEs need help. They need support at the regional level in the form of advice how to become sustainable and digital. And also they need vouchers, small vouchers, maybe 5,000 euros to get started.
Thank you very much. And it's the last one.
Thank you very much. Andreas Stefanidis from Academy of Entrepreneurship of Greece. One recommendation, we need entrepreneurial skills training to public employees in all European national countries in order to make our SMEs sustainable and innovative. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. So I'm sorry for rushing to your proposal. We have a place I will show you later. It's called Ideas Lounge here, and you may join us and bring your recommendation to that corner. I wonder if you just have one breath comment on what you have heard, or not all of you, but I mean, just if there is something. Yes, please.
I have 2 issues. First, you mentioned long-term vision and predictability. I'm sorry to say that that's something that doesn't come now into Europe. How we look at what happens globally, what happens to markets, what happens in government finance, the world won't be more predictable, and it will be harder to plan long term. That's something we have to know. I am now not a policy guy, so I am a professor, so I can tell you. A lot of issue goes to one thing, is bargaining power. I'm not a fashion expert. I had some researchers on that. The guys who sell the fashion products, these are the platforms.
Okay.
And what is the bargaining power between a company, a fashion company, and a platform, or any kind of company and a platform? That's a core issue. Yeah. And now a lot of time happens that even the regulatory burdens in sustainability are defined, and these are pushed to the small companies. So I think that regulation of platforms is a core issue.
Okay, thank you. I think our time is really running. I think you have taken a lot of notes. Yes. So we really look forward to hear you. Yeah.
Great, thank you very much, first of all, to you for having presented your views about. I found very rich. I mean, we had only 1 hour, but I found it very, very rich panel based on academic research and also on your own experience, which I found it particularly interesting. I also thank you for your participation and engagement in the questions that you have raised, the recommendations. I think if I can summarize some of the recommendations, some of the points of view that were presented, I think there is a clear understanding, at least within this audience, that there is a clear relationship between sustainability and competitiveness. I think you all said that we need active policies from the European stakeholders and from member states. It's not enough to leave this to the markets. There is a plea as well from your side for the European Union, European stakeholders, member states, and the community in general to take the lead. I think something interesting that came out of the panel is that it's not just enough to have also supply policy push type of policies, that I think there was a strong emphasis on the need to focus a little bit more on the consumers, to focus a little bit more on the demand side. And I think that was very positive. I think the combination of proposals, I will summarize then among those that are a bit of a carrot type and those that are a little bit more stick type of policies. Among the carrot ones, certainly what I was referring to before, the demand side driven approach, work with consumers, understanding their values, communication campaigns, best practices. You mentioned public procurement. Just to remind that the Commission is now engaging in the evaluation of the public procurement directive. This is the moment to really put forward for these ideas. I also agree with the professor. The challenge there is not only to ask for sustainability public procurement, but how to ensure that in that context that is going to be there, SMEs do have an opportunity. The moment you introduce these sustainability criteria in public procurement, you are going to become much more complex. And this complexity is not necessarily good for SMEs. So that will be a challenge that I think you perfectly put it forward. And this is the moment to start thinking about that. I think it's an opportunity. Public procurement can lead sustainability and the uptake of sustainability by SMEs, but it's very important that we do it right, that we do not introduce more burden to those that want to participate in the public procurement. Among those that are also carrot type of solutions, certainly finance. I understood that it is important to provide ready-to-use solutions, simple, I guess, finance solutions. Good, and then help very much with implementation. I heard about sustainability advisors, masterclass, massive advice, and also advice to public authorities that are engaged, for instance, in public procurement. I think that was very, very important. But I also heard some stick type of policy issues. It's not enough to be nice towards the market and trying to push sustainability. I think it's also important for Europe to ensure the enforcement of all these policies. And I think, Julia, you put it very, very, very strongly. I think the food and textile waste proposal of the Commission is now being discussed by the legislator is very important for you. You mentioned as well border taxes. It's important, as you said, to ensure the fairness. I think that was also an element that was very much present in the SME relief package adopted by the Commission in September last year. I also heard some elephants in the room, which I think you're right. And the Commission is very much working on pushing, and there has been a lot of progress since a couple of years ago. I think that's very good. Simplifying CSRD, Corporate Sustainability Reporting Directive reporting. I heard as well the need to predictability, or I also heard the need to give time for the uptake of sustainability. And also I heard the need to address the subsidies to the oil industry, that these are important elements as well. Elephants in the rooms that I think they need to be addressed as well. And certainly on the issue of reporting, I can assure that from DG GROW and from our unit, we've been doing quite a lot to try to simplify those reportings by EFRAG. I want to stop here. I want to thank you very much about these initiatives. I would strongly suggest the audience, the people here, to put forward ideas. This is just an appetizer. We have initiatives in the pipeline that are important. The Food and the Waste Directive. We have the public procurement revision of the directives. We also have the future evaluation of the standardization and SMEs standardization process. I think that's also going to be very, very important. And we also have in July, the communication of the package on the single market. So these are good political opportunities to put forward all these ideas that we have just analyzed here. Thank you very much.
So, yeah. So really, thank you very much to Ute Stefan, Balázs Repesi, Giulia Fauré, Marianna Panebarco, Maria Lipatova. Thank you to Miriam over there, and also to Devin Bisser and to Kasia Balushka. And as you see, we can continue this conversation. So I'm sorry I rushed you a little bit in this session. We have exactly at the other side of the building, on the right corner, we have the Ideas Lounge. You can come there if you wish and just bring your recommendation about this topic or any kind of recommendation you would like to suggest. And also, if you can't make it there, you can just send them by Slido here. I strongly invite you to come to the Ideas Lounge because we can just understand a little bit more about your ideas, but if you have no time, you have to rush or you have to go, you may send them through here. So thank you very much. Thank you, Bonifacio, and enjoy the assembly. That's just the beginning, I would say, of the conversations.
Dear all, just remain seated, please, for a while, or just 1 minute. I'm sure you'll all agree that was a most stimulating session. Thank you again to our speakers and to you for participating. And now it's time for the networking coffee break, during which you will have ample time to visit the EU SME Week Expo and the Ideas Lounge and join one of our brand new Meet the Expert sessions on level 3, where coffee will also be served. Just follow the hosts with the signs. And after the break, here in the auditorium, there will be a policy workshop entitled Growth by Export, New Tools for International Trade. In Akházi Room, a policy workshop, ESG for SMEs. In Pálffy, a policy workshop entitled Public Procurement, Innovative and SME Friendly. And in Hodik, our New Ways of Working workshop will focus on the mental health of entrepreneurs. Thank you for your attention and enjoy your coffee break. Thank you.